You know, one of the most important things about hurricanes is to know your zone, know your evacuation zone. In fact, this year, South Carolina assigned all new zones to the South Carolina coast. Our Joey Sovine breaks it down.
Changes have occurred. We need everyone to take time, if you're in a coastal community, to know your zone.
For the first time since 2012, evacuation zones have changed in South Carolina. The focus of the new evacuation zones is purely to get people away from the deadliest part of a hurricane, the storm surge.
It's specifically the water that we'll be asking folks to evacuate for. Zones have not changed since 2012, so folks may be very comfortable knowing their zone from previous iterations of previous storm seasons, but now changes have occurred.
So if you live in the low country and you're remotely close to the coast, chances are you live in a hurricane evacuation zone now labeled A through F. Leaders significantly changed the zone lines, making evacuations more accurate and streamlined. Emergency managers say the new zones reduce the evacuation map by 250 square miles. So some who used to be subject to evacuation no longer are, and most people's zones have changed.
The main thing that we want to do is we want to ensure that people are out of harm's way, that we're not putting them at risk. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we don't evacuate people that don't need to be evacuated. That's very critical as well.
While most people's zone letters have changed, the evacuation routes stay the same. That means most people would still leave the low country on I-26 in the event of an evacuation.
During the construction process, however, we stay very active and coordinated with our contractors to make sure that they will demobilize when needed when an evacuation order happens, and we'll go from there.
Leaders emphasize that people should have a home hurricane kit on hand since they won't always be ordered to evacuate. But if an evacuation order comes down, it's likely because of life-threatening storm surge, so those orders need to be taken seriously. I'm Live 5 First Alert meteorologist Joey Sovine.
Alberto, Beryl, Chris, just a few of the names that we don't want to hear this year of the 2024 hurricane season. You know, this show is all about preparing ahead of the storm. We know this information is important and that you should keep this information real close at hand as we get into hurricane season. Now, don't forget to follow us on air, online, and download the app. It's absolutely free because whenever a hurricane develops, the Live 5 First Alert Weather Team will keep you ahead of the storm.